Hey everybody, this is David Skrika. So I thought this is Thanksgiving. So we will have a Thanksgiving and Friday. So we're gonna look at I figured as it is Thanksgiving, let's look at Turkey. So 1 second, let me get this here. So the if we're gonna look at three things. We're gonna look at the Turkish lira. Actually, I gotta get this here. Yeah, so we're gonna get a max. Let's just start off. So you can see the Turkish lira since 2011. That's as far as it's or 2010. It's gone from 71 cents to the dollar to 3 cents. So basically lost about 95% of its value. Turkey has seen massive hyperinflations or massive inflations since then. So what's interesting is during inflations, massive inflations. Like stagflation is kind of the worst thing for stocks because I think that compresses companies' profits. But in hyperinflations, what happens is stocks become kind of an inflation hedge, similar to gold, other assets, etc. So what we could see is Turkey's gone from 500 to almost 20 up almost 20 times since that 2010. So we go a 95% devaluation, and this is the Turkish, Titans 20. This is in lira. So what's interesting is in lira terms, yeah, stocks have kept up with inflation. So you didn't if you were in stocks in Turkey and you were Turkish, you didn't lose money even with the massive inflation. Or you I should say that you didn't lose money against the US dollar because the stocks actually went up 20 times and the lira in US dollar terms went down 20 times or 95%, right? So if we go look at let's go look at then we'll look at the Turkish ETF, which is TUR. And you can see, yeah, again, since 2010, it's roughly flat, right? It did have a time where it was down. It fell from as high as 55 to 15, but now it's 36, and it was in the mid 30s in 2010 before that big devaluation started. Plus, you would have dividend, although actually, of course, this includes dividends on stock charts, as I've talked about in the past. So with dividends, again, you actually would have kept up. And if you would have owned, same thing, if you would have just owned this ETF and say you were Turkish, then when you brought it back home, you would have 20 times more lira now than you would have 10 years ago. So of course you would have been better off owning US stocks because US stocks are up, 4 or 5 fold in the last 15 years, and Turkish lira is and the Turkish lira is down so much. So that's always kind of interesting. One stock, I always like the telecom stocks as plays. You can see the telecom stock. This is actually down in the last 15 years, but has had a great move from its bottom in 2020 from just under 2 to 6. I wouldn't be chasing it at these levels, but again, we'll quickly look at here. You can see it pays a 2.5% dividend. TKC pays a 3% dividend. But again, I wouldn't be chasing it at these levels, etc. So if there is another kind of decline in markets and Turkish market goes down, probably that's when I'd be looking at buying because you've had a lot of because you can see this trades at 7 times earnings. So the stocks are cheap, but I think they've had such good runs. I wouldn't do it here. But again, it's always kind of interesting to see these inflation plays because it just shows you how equities and other assets, real estate's the same way, even with higher interest rates. Like the value of tangible assets all goes up during these kind of inflations. Now, maybe not in US dollar terms, but definitely in lira terms, as well, right? So this is kind of interesting. And also the interesting thing about this, even though I didn't trade it, it did kind of go into the maximum pessimism play. You can see the peak of TKC was $15. And of course, if we let's take off the dividends for a second to show you the actual, it's really not making a difference. Oh, actually, it does make a difference. You can see it's $30 when we take out the dividends, right? The actual price, so now let's adjust it for the dividends. And you can see, even adjusted for dividends, the stock was down nearly 83% from its highs and down over 90% from its highs, not adjusted for dividends. And you can see, then the returns are great. Now, you had to wait a while. One thing I always say about these kind of things, let's say you would have bought it here when it was down 80 something percent, went down 70% adjusted for dividends, 80% out adjusted for dividends. If you would have bought it starting back in the late 2020s, and this is kind of when I was first looking at this thing, or late teens, you still be up 60% right now. And look at it's not a great return in 5 years, but 60%, annualize say 10% a year. That's pretty good, in 5, 6 years, especially on a conservative play. And same thing with the Turkish market. Oops, sorry. The Turkish ETF. you can see if you had started buying it when the turkey did get really cheap here, you'd be roughly a double, in the last anywhere from for 6 years, depending on when you bought 2018 or 2022, etc. Right. So and again, I think a double in a market and even a 6 year period is pretty good. That's an annualized return of about 12% a year. So, and it just shows you the power of maximum pessimism. So that's that. I'll just get a quick one because it's Thanksgiving. Everyone have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, so tomorrow I should really put into so actually let's just quickly look at this right now so you can all see it. So the YouTube channel has been changed. I'm going to view it right here. Easy profit. It's now profit from pessimism, as I said. The Patreon is now Profit Pess as well. Profitforpessimism.com should be out by the time my book is launched, January 7th at the latest. I'd like to get it out by Christmas. The new website. So now again, so stock chart of the day is now. I'll have to change this here on Zoom as well. But stock chart of the day is now profit from pessimism. So like I said, there will be no really nothing's changed other than just the name for now. And stock chart of the day is now a part of profit from pessimism as well. And also something quickly for the Patreon members, because I'm gonna have different tiers of the service now. We obviously have the lifetime tier. Oh, and that's also too. I'm gonna have a special offer, Black Friday special starting tomorrow on my lifetime subscription. I've settled on $1,200 being the price of the lifetime subscription. I will be doing a deal for $900, so that's 25% off. And if you wire me the money, I'll do it for $700, which is 40% off. And the reason is, I know it's kind of easier for you just to put your credit card down on Patreon and do the 900, but Patreon takes a good chunk of that money away from me. And also, with the wire, you'll be paying less, obviously, too. So a wire fee is usually about 50. So you'll be paying about 20% less, $150 left if you wire me the money. And I'll get about the same. Patreon takes about 15, 20% off. So I'll be getting basically the same amount of money if you wire it, and you'll be paying less. So I think that kind of works out. And obviously, you doing with it being Black Friday, I don't expect you to wire the money till next week, etc. So that will be good. That deal will be good for about a week. It will be good through basically next Friday. So anyhow, so that's it. We're now profit from pessimism. And we took a look at Turkey on Turkey Day. So happy Thanksgiving to American friends. About 10:30 in the morning here. I'm finishing this Eastern. I'm going to put this up. I have to do a couple work emails. I'm just doing the final touches on my book. And then going to start, in a couple hours watching the football games. And anyone who knows anything about football, kind of funny. It used to be that the Cowboys were the big team. They played at 4 o'clock. The Lions would play the early game. And everyone would just kind of like, maybe, Thanksgiving's a little different. People don't wait till 5, 6 o'clock to eat. They kind of start eating during the day. And the joke is that everyone would have their turkey, maybe their drinks, and kind of just eat and do whatever and start getting drunk while the Lions lose, and then watch the Cowboy game. Well, of course, now the Lions are one of the best teams in the league, and the Cowboys stink. So, although I guess they could or should win today because they're playing the Giants, who are terrible as well. So, anyhow, happy Thanksgiving to all my American friends. I consider it like a half holiday myself. I had a few people who had a bunch of business stuff happen, and yesterday I had to take care of. I didn't really want to do it the day before Thanksgiving, but no business calls today. Sorry. Everybody take care. Bye.